Alright guys, tonight's video we're going to be discussing marathon training for beginners. This is basically going to be covering my personal opinion. We're going to be talking about 10 essential tips to help you run the 26.2, 42.2 kilometer, 26.2 mile, 42.2 kilometer race as effectively as possible, but also to still be able to enjoy the experience of running a marathon for the first time, and to get you to the finish line feeling great and in a new personal best. So if you have not yet subscribed to the channel and you're brand new, click the subscribe button as well as the bell icon. That way anytime I make a new video, you'll be notified of that. And let's get started on talking about these 10 essential tips to help you run the marathon distance as effectively as possible. So what are 10 tips that I would provide to you in terms of you running the marathon for the first time? If this is your first time participating in the marathon distance, I commend you. It's an absolutely phenomenal event. It will definitely test your physical and mental capabilities. I still remember my first marathon back at the New York City Marathon in 2002. I had no idea that I would ever be called a marathoner or would ever participate in the event, but I had people around me that kind of suggested that, hey, this might be your distance and you've run well at the shorter distances, why don't you try the marathon? So what I want to do with this video is basically just to discuss 10 essential tips that I feel will really help benefit you in the fact that you're running the marathon for the first time, or perhaps you've already run a marathon and you're still a beginner, but you're trying to get to the next level. A lot of what I talk about on RunDreamAchieve.com is marathon training, specific marathon training workouts, things you can do, as well as here on the YouTube channel. But this particular video is marathon training for beginners. So this is for somebody that's never really run a marathon before, somebody that may have already run the distance but is trying to get better at covering the 26.2 mile distance more effectively. So I mean, the first tip I want to provide is to invest in your personal development, whether that be a coach, whether that be a training program or a running course, something that's going to help you get from point A to point B as fast as possible, as efficiently as possible. And one of the most important things, and this is really one of the most important tips that I've been given over the years, that other athletes, other coaches, other people around me that were better than me always pointed toward, and that's investing in your personal development. If you want to be a better marathon runner, you need to study what marathoners are doing, whether they're at the elite level or whether they've run a marathon and been able to start a marathon and complete a marathon, which is just as impressive to me as anybody running somebody that's breaking a 3-hour marathon or running a 2:40 marathon or breaking 4 hours. It definitely takes commitment to run the marathon and to be able to complete it. And in our sport, it gets really competitive. People start talking about, well, what time did he or she run, and what paces and what kilometer paces were they running at. For somebody that's just getting started in the sport, one of the best things you can do to be more effective at the marathon distance is to study what efficient runners are doing. And when I say efficient, is how are they able to get started in the race and to be able to finish the race, and not only finish, but in completing the distance, and to be able to finish the race and not be totally shot at the end of the race. And one of the best things you can do is to invest in yourself, and whether that's by purchasing a book, listening to a podcast, investing in a running course. On RunDreamAchieve.com, I have training programs that I've built specifically for beginner athletes, and as well as the elite level training programs, as well as running courses, as well. And the majority of the content that I create on RunDreamAchieve.com is free. So it's going to the site and just kind of reviewing some of the old posts that I've written over the years. I have about almost 600 posts, and that are there for you as well as here on the YouTube channel. So number one, invest in yourself. Try to find out what the best runners are doing, learn from the mistakes of other athletes. Don't be the guy or the gal that continues to make the mistakes. Find out what you need to do in terms of running the marathon as efficiently as possible, and the way you do that is by just studying what successful marathoners are doing. And I mean, me personally, I had to do the same thing. I didn't start running marathon. I started running in 1992, and I didn't start running marathons until 2002. So 10 years later, I didn't even think about running a marathon. So it took me 10 years to even consider it. But once I ran New York City in 2002, I was part of a armed forces team that was running for charity. So we started in last place. We weren't allowed to start. We were actually in 32,189th place, and we weren't allowed to start the race until every runner had crossed the start line. So if you go back and you look online of the results of that race, you'll see my finish time was like 2 hours, 51 minutes, and 52 seconds or something like that. But my net time is 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 36 seconds. And the reason being is because the 2:51 time is including the time that it took for every runner to cross the start line, and the 2:43 time is my official time, what I ran it was my chip time, so it was what I ran from the start line to the finish line. So that was my first experience at the distance, and since then I've really studied what it takes to run the marathon well, and that's what you really need to focus on, is to continue to build on your personal development and learning from what other runners are doing in our sport, to make the marathon not only feel easier, but to get to the finish line in the fastest time possible, and to get yourself a new personal best. So the second tip is to be patient and don't overthink training. You're just getting started in the distance, so one thing that advanced runners and elite athletes get so caught up, including myself, I got involved in it, from the more competitive and the faster you run, the more your expectations go up. And it's really critical to be patient with yourself, and to keep it fun. Do not lose your enthusiasm about running and just getting out the door each day and building on your fitness. I think once you become impatient and you start to second guess yourself and you start to doubt yourself, this marathon sport becomes much less exciting and a lot more stressful, and you don't need that. I mean, at the end of the day, running isn't the be all end all. There's more to life than running, and I've been around athletes that get so immersed in it, and it's important to be immersed in the sport and to want to do well. But as for marathon training for beginners, this is definitely an introductory video in terms of just sharing some tips. And one of the most important things is just do not overthink the process. Continue to build on your mileage, and let your fitness come to you, and don't overthink it. Don't think that results are going to come overnight. So and that's the bottom. You really have to realize that in this sport, results come in months and possibly even years. I mean, it took me 5 years to go from 2:43.36 to 2:19.35, and I spent years, dealing with frustrations and successes and ebbs and flows of the sport. So I really had to maintain my enthusiasm and to stay patient. So that's really key. Just take your time with building up for your marathon. Continue to build on your endurance. And let your fitness come to you, and it always will. It just doesn't always come as fast as we want. So that's number 2. So be patient. Number 3 is kind of it's a mixture of a few things. A lot of athletes, sometimes when we get injured, we think that we cannot run on land because either we have maybe a sore quad muscle, a sore knee, maybe a sore calf. One of the better workouts that you can do in terms of training for a marathon, and without having to stress about making an injury or maybe a tight muscle feel even worse, is to get in the deep end of a pull run. You can wear a flotation device, and you can sit there and just focus on your form, And the key is getting into the deep end. If you want to make it much more difficult, you don't wear a flotation device. That way you're pumping your arms in. That's going to keep you, keep you up above water. And you focus on your arm movement and your leg movement. Just act like you're running in the pool. That's a great alternative workout, even if you're not injured and you don't want to do, say, you don't want to do a tempo run or you don't want to do a track workout. Get in the deep end of a pool, and definitely if you want to make it, mimic outdoor running on the track, don't wear a flotation device and try running in the deep end of a pool for about 30 minutes. It's like running. It's about as equal to running about an hour on land outdoors. Very, very great, very tough workout. But in terms of building your endurance up for the marathon, it's one of my favorite alternative types of workouts. Where if you're feeling a little fatigued or you just don't want to you don't want to put that pressure on your musculature while you're building up for your first marathon or getting ready for your second or third marathon. Get in the deep end of the pool, put a flotation device on. A flotation device while you're pool running is great if you're wanting to do like a long run, because it's so much more support and it's so much easier wearing a flotation device rather than not wearing one. And to go along with that is to build your endurance, just to continue to build your endurance each week. You don't need to be running 100 miles a week or any crazy types of mileage, and we'll discuss that here in the next few tips. But you don't need to be getting caught up in how many miles a week I'm running. It is good to keep a training log, which is another tip here we'll be discussing. But don't get caught up in thinking so much about mileage. Just continue to put in the endurance, your workouts each day, and to be patient with yourself. But those types of workouts like pool running, that'll take the stress and impact off of your musculature, your knees, your quads, your calves. And you'll get a very similar type of workout in the deep end of the pool without any impact, which is a great workout. The fourth tip, keep a training log. That's very, very important. You get to see what you're doing right, and then you can go back years from now and kind of look and see, okay, I ran a personal best at the Chicago Marathon, or I ran a personal best at the Rotterdam Marathon in Holland. Everything was great. I spent 12 weeks at 40 miles a week, and I hit this workout at this time. That's what's great about a training log, is it kind of keeps you honest. It keeps you on pace to know what you've been doing, either how many miles a week or how many kilometers a week you're running, what workout you did. It's much easier to have it written down rather and to go back and to see what were the actions you were taking during the week that really paid off in the end, and say you have a real poor performance a few months from now or a few years from now, going back and looking at that training log rather than going back and looking back at it and seeing what you were doing right and what you were doing wrong can really assist you in the future, rather than just going fly by night, like I think I'll do a 3-mile run today, or not being able to go back and see what you were doing is something you don't want to have. You want to make sure you maintain a training log so you can factor in what were the things you were doing right in training that got you to the result you were looking for. So I hope that makes sense. Training log is very, very important. I've kept one as well, and I've looked back and known what types of things I was doing right that helped me get that personal best in the marathon distance and other distances as well. The number 5 tip is to have a recovery week every month. I've done this over the years. I've found it to be very, very useful, very important. You do what I do with my marathon training is I do 3 weeks of, usually my build-up is 16 weeks in total, but each month I'll have 1 down week where I'll lower my mileage considerably. So and again, I teach this in my courses. I teach this on RunDreamAchieve.com and in these videos, where the recovery period is absolutely critical. It's even more important, I think, than even the physical training itself, because yes, we have to do the workouts to prepare for a marathon. It's absolutely essential you do that. You have to, but you also have to know that all of the benefits of your hard work, what you're doing, whether it's the track workouts, the tempo runs, the road work you're putting in. All the benefits are going to come from the recovery period. And if you Google supercompensation, that is a training principle that a lot of distance runners and middle distance runners don't necessarily know much about. But there's a physiological effect that happens before every workout and after every workout. And so having that one recovery week each month, is really going to allow you to not only recover from the hard work, but it's going to let you get the best bang for your buck and get the most return on investment, because you're not just continuing to push the body hard every single week. You need a recovery week. I mean, some of the best distance running coaches I've worked with over the years, absolutely stress a recovery week every month. So again, 3 weeks, and then you have a drop down week where you lower your mileage, you lower your intensity, and then you go back up again the fourth week, and then you drop again. So that's very, very important in terms of marathon training for beginners, is to have that recovery week in your training, so that you're allowing your body sufficient time to recover from the hard workouts you're doing, and that's really going to pay off at the end of your training block. I recommend a 16-week training block, but as a beginner, 12 weeks of training leading into a marathon is also great. I don't necessarily think you don't have to, as a beginner for the marathon distance, you don't need to be training for 5 months or 20 weeks. You can prepare well for a marathon in 4 weeks. You can prepare well. 4 weeks is not necessarily the best case scenario, but you can get ready and start a marathon and finish a marathon in as low as 4 weeks. A lot of more advanced athletes go 8 weeks through to up to 20 weeks. So having that recovery week is very, very important. So definitely keep that in mind. The sixth tip is to run 3 to 4 days a week. You don't have to be running 7 days a week as a marathon beginner. That's not needed to start the marathon and finish the marathon. There are athletes out there, people that have never run a marathon before, that have run a marathon without training at all. So you don't have to run 7 days a week, but I do recommend running at least 2 days a week, preferably 4 days a week. That way you allow yourself some time to have a few days off, and to, again, like we talked about in previous steps, is just to gradually build your distance up each week. You don't need to be doing necessarily more than 10% more each week. You definitely do not want to get so focused that you're overtraining. Okay, so running between 2 and 4 days a week is sufficient for running a marathon for the first time. And if you have any questions regarding the marathon, or something I'm not covering in this video, leave me a comment below. Let me know. That goes back to tip number 6, is allowing yourself, especially as a beginner. For me, as a more advanced athlete, I train 7 days a week. I've trained 7 days a week since I was pretty much in college. And the more advanced you get in the marathon distance, and the faster you get, then it becomes a little bit more important to be running higher mileage and more days per week. More advanced athlete. Like when I was at my highest, I was running up to 142 miles a week. So I was doing two days a week, or twice a day, 7 days a week. I was running. So it's about an average of 20 miles a day, and that was at my very highest. But for beginner level athletes, training for the marathon for their first time, you can train for a marathon. If you're doing 15 to 20 miles a week, you will be set up for success running your first marathon, even running at that low of a mileage. Again, like I said, there are some athletes that don't even train for the marathon and can go out and start a marathon and finish one. My recommendation for you is to definitely at least put in some training leading into a marathon, preferably, like I said, preferably 12 to 16 weeks. Training for your first marathon, or if you've already run one and you're trying to run a little bit more faster, then I definitely recommend, like I said, going to RunDreamAchieve.com, check out the courses tab or the training programs tab, and those are two big resources that I have for athletes that are either run a few marathons or run a few half marathons or 10Ks or 5Ks, that are trying to get faster and run a specific time. I have 120 half marathon programs, 130, 115. So again, just check out the courses and training programs tab on RunDreamAchieve.com if that's something that interests you. The ninth tip is to get a massage. Focus on taking care of your body, making sure that you're giving your body enough recovery, like we talked about in terms of mileage. But if you investing in a massage therapist, taking Epsom salt baths, that'll also help you recover, your muscles recover faster. But that's really, really important because you as a marathon runner, you're putting in a lot of mileage, a lot of stress is placed on the body. So investing in, putting in some money in terms of getting a massage therapist and getting a massage maybe twice a week or at least once a week is really, really important. It'll help you recover faster from the hard workouts that you're doing and the mileage that you're doing. So that's kind of my wrap up for you in regards to marathon training for beginners. I think these tips here will definitely, at least in an introductory way, will help you get settled into your marathon training. Like I said, it's not essential that you're running 40 to 100 miles a week right off the bat as a marathon runner. If this is the first time you're running the marathon, like I said, you can start training anywhere from like 10 to 20 miles a week and just gradually over time continue to build up that mileage, and sprinkle in some light track workouts, and those long runs are absolutely important too. I know as a beginner and you've never run the marathon distance before, the long run is really one of the most critical workouts that you can do to start the marathon and finish the marathon in a very, very fast time. And there are beginners out there that break 5 hours for the first time. They go out there, break 4. Some even go out and break 3 hours. I mean, these are the athletes that are really, if you can go out and run a marathon for the first time and break 3 hours and run 2:59 or faster, you're an extremely talented individual, because that takes a very, very fast pace. I mean, a sub 3 hour marathon in and of itself, that's 6:52 mile pace for 26.2 miles. That's pretty impressive. So, but with you just beginning, the key things is to be patient with yourself. Don't overthink the process. Continue to build your mileage, build your endurance. And one last tip I want to share with you is strides. This is here in the world of running. Strides are basically short sprints that are anywhere from like 50 meters to 100 meters in length. They don't really build up any lactic acid, but what they will do is help you continue to work on your speed. And what's great about strides is that you can continue to work on your leg speed, because the marathon distance, you don't necessarily need speed for the marathon, but you do need endurance, and you need strength, and you need stamina. And you running those easy miles each week will make you very strong with your endurance, but sprinkling in those endurance, those strides type workouts, where you're running 5 to 6 50 to 100 meter sprints, a stride, you can do it all out, and then, or you can kind of gradually speed up as you're going into the stride. You don't necessarily have to run your strides all out, but you can if you want, and then just stop, rest, and have complete recovery, and then do another one. But the important thing about doing a stride is not to just go straight into a sprint and do it all out right off the bat. You can do that because they're so short, they're not going to really get you fatigued or anything, but a stride is a gradual increase of pace. So maybe more preferably the last 20 meters of a 100 meter stride or a 50 meter stride is where you want to be in all out effort. So those are a few tips. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Like I said, the marathon distance is a great event. I never envisioned myself being a marathoner myself, but I found out that it was pretty much the best event that I've ever competed in, and it was the event that I was best suited for. Looking back from when I was in high school running the mile and the 2 mile, if you would have told me back in 1992 when I first started running that I would be a marathon runner, I would have looked at you like you're crazy. But I ended up running 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 35 seconds for the distance. So I do have, and I've been running for 28 years, so Like I said, if you have any specific questions, something that I didn't cover in this video, leave me a comment below below this video and give me a thumbs up, and definitely to help support the channel. I really appreciate everybody that comes here, the comments that I get. I've already made a lot of friends on YouTube, and I really appreciate helping other athletes and hearing from you, hearing both your frustrations and your successes. And I look forward to continue to make videos that will help as many athletes as I can here in the States and everywhere in other parts of the world, to not only run the marathon, as in your case, becoming being a marathon beginner, but also for those athletes that are at the regional level or the elite level that are trying to make that next big jump in their training. So I hope this video has been helpful for you, and if you haven't yet, like I said, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, click on the bell icon and the subscribe button. That way anytime I make a new video, you'll be notified of it, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.